Recently, the obituary of Paulbert Pontifex was released on a reputable journalism website. News of Pontifex's death spread across the internet and reached those corners where it would most matter. Many have reacted with sadness, shock, and even joy. We here at Central Services have always regarded Paulbert Pontifex with one singular emotion: suspicion. It should come as no surprise that the literature on Pontifex's death is dripping with just as much lies and deception as that on his life. Unpersons, I simply don't have the time to expose all of the nonsense, deceivery, and blatant untruth to this obituary. There's too much. But there is one egregious oversight, an insidious omission that must be brought to light. Pontifex is survived by his beloved machines and inventions. This line of the obituary implies Paulbert Pontifex had no children. I know for a fact that this statement is a lie. Unpersons, let me introduce you to Jacob Pontifex I, only living progeny of Paulbert Filius Pontifex III, Esquire. While no known records or images of this boy survive, I will prove without a doubt that he exists. I take you to Valverde, a tiny country once nestled in the heart of Central America. A stop on Paulbert Pontifex's joyride across the globe? Immensely likely. Valverde's existence has faded into obscurity. No one quite knows when it stopped being a country, only that in 2018, it isn't one. Pontifex ended his adventures in 1980. We know this because his name starts to appear in American records for the first time since he left the country in the 50s. Why did he choose this particular year, 1980, to return to the US? Could it be to care for his son, born in Valverde with no money to his name? Could it be that Pontifex now needed to establish an empire to pay for the exorbitant amount of childcare that the Valverde national government famously required? But if Jacob Pontifex exists, you ask, why have we not heard of him? How do we know such a man exists? And where is he now? One need only look at the clues that have been left behind. In 1984, Lux acquired a new film for use with its life-numbing, brain-addling UVX fungus distribution show. This movie, Our Last Day in the Bahamas, has been the subject of some discussion on our very own website recently. But were you aware of who they got to star in Our Last Day in the Bahamas? Val Kilmer. And the Bahamas, known for many things, but mainly their palm trees. What color are palm trees? Green. Green, Valverde. But why? Why is Lux, a company overrun by spore-riddled machines, pointing us to Valverde, the birthplace of Pontifex's son? What does it want us to know? I'll tell you what, unpersons. Shortly after Jacob Pontifex's birth, his own father sacrificed him to LUXos. A sacrifice Pontifex hoped that would bring about the coming of the nemesis fungus. But that just didn't happen. We know that it didn't happen, or I wouldn't be alive to tell you the truth, and you wouldn't be alive to hear it. No, unpersons, the fungus was foiled that day, but it managed to preserve the brain of the child. The human brain of the child. Jacob Pontifex and the LUXos supercomputer fused to create the world's first genetically otherized theta human, a prototype on which all other GOTs have been modeled. And it has been leaving clues for us ever since. Our Last Day in the Bahamas was only the beginning. That sparkly, blue, genetically otherized theta human that Lux totes to all its events. He's always referring to himself as a human, more than is necessary for the average human. He wants us to think of him as human. Why? Because on some level, he still is. This man's name is John Point. John Point. It's because somewhere deep down there is human left in him. Somewhere within him lies a piece of LUXos, a piece of the brain of an innocent child, the brain of Jacob Pontifex I. Fearing for his life, Jacob Pontifex has been calling out to the general public for help for years, latching on to anyone who might be able to pick up on the connection. Val Verde Green. And everywhere Jacob tries, Lux squashes those cries. Why do you think they no longer show Our Last Day in the Bahamas? It's something Lux doesn't want you to see. A person is trapped inside that machine. Pontifex's own son, callously fed to an unfeeling fungal master. And if Pontifex has no regard for his own family on persons, what hope do we have? Disbelief, disconnect, disappear.